They built machines to replace her. Faster, smarter, perfect. The old warbird, scarred metal and heavy wings, was supposed to be history. But when their code stumbled, one pilot climbed back into a cockpit older than the war itself. Not because it was the best, because it was the one thing they couldn't copy. From the Black Valley came a sound no software could replicate. Brrr-teet-teet. The future thought it had already won. The hog reminded them survival isn't calculated, it's earned. Before we begin, where are you watching from? And do you think the hog still belongs in tomorrow's wars? 3 months had passed since the canyon run. The world still thought Major Tamsin Holt was grounded. But Stormglass had other plans. The base had no name. Just sand, fences, and hangars sunk into desert stone. No signs, no flags, no emblems. Pilots moved through its halls like ghosts. Faces existed, but no chatter. Every word carried weight, so most chose silence. Holt kept to herself. Stormglass didn't encourage friendships, only survival. Every day felt like someone's eyes pressed against her back. She lived in a small room with no windows, white walls, steel desk, a bed that never felt warm. The only thing alive was the thought of flying again. And then there was Tempest 3. Her aircraft, her only constant. It wasn't new, not even close. Tempest 3 was an A-10C, already decades old. 4 pilots had flown it before her. None lasted more than 2 years. The jet carried scars from battles across continents, patches of titanium skin welded over bullet holes like a veteran's armor. The GAU-8 cannon stretched from its nose, 7 barrels, 30 millimeters each, heavier than a Volkswagen engine. The gun alone defined the hog. Technicians whispered about it when Holt wasn't around. This bird shouldn't even be alive. She only flies because Holt makes her believe. Holt didn't argue. She knew the hog wasn't just metal. It was stubborn survival with wings. Every morning, she walked the length of the fuselage. Her hand brushed over rough paint, faded shark teeth at the nose. The hog felt more like a partner than a tool. One mechanic once stopped her. You know, Major, she shouldn't be this smooth. Not at her age. Holt just nodded. She's not smooth, Holt said quietly. She's just too stubborn to die. And maybe that was why they fit. Others flew F-35s, stealth wrapped in algorithms. Others trusted autopilot to think faster than they could. Holt had the hogs slow, loud, built like a fist. Stormglass didn't question her choice. They wanted data, not style. They needed someone who broke patterns, not someone who fit them. Her new assignment arrived at dawn. Echo 9. Coordinates only. No briefing. No target. Just a line through a sector marked as gray zone. A technician zipped her flight suit without asking. His eyes flicked once to hers. Uneasy. Gray zone eats drones. You'll be alone. Holt said nothing. She climbed the ladder, hands steady on metal rungs. The cockpit closed around her like a coffin and a shield. Systems came alive under her fingers. Engines rumbled. Slow at first, then full-throated. The sound shook the hangar walls. Tempest 3 rolled out into morning haze. Wheels bit the strip, then lifted. Desert shrank beneath her wings. At 15,000 feet, she crossed the first grid line. The gray zone stretched below ridges, abandoned outposts, and silence. Radio channels hissed static. Then came the signal. Faint. Illegal frequency. A pulse that didn't belong. Holt tuned in, careful, adjusting dials by instinct. Words crackled through. Not English. Russian mixed with another language she didn't recognize. She followed the pulse. It dragged her over broken ground, past ridges scorched black. Then she saw it. A compound half buried in sand. No flags, no markings, no guards. But dishes and sensors bristled like thorns. She banked lower. Through gaps in broken roof, she saw cameras. Thermal lenses, sound arrays, all pointed skyward. This wasn't a base, and it was a listening post. And its only subject was her. The hog's shadow crawled across its walls. Inside, equipment flickered, screens filled with flight paths hers. Her blood went cold, printed images of her A-10 pinned to boards. timestamps from 12 different missions. She spotted a photo of herself in cockpit. Pulse rate scribbled at the corner, every stress spike catalogued. On one desk, a monitor still glowed. A chart scrolled with her vitals, breathing, heart, reaction times. Someone was measuring the limits of her body. Before she could react, alarms blared inside. The compound shuddered. Self-destruct. Fire burst upward, swallowing walls. Holt yanked the hog higher, dust rising like smoke hands. Heat clawed at her canopy. She steadied at 2,000 feet, breathing hard. The base below burned itself into the ground. Evidence erased in minutes. Then shadows rose around her. 2 aircraft. Sleek, unmarked, not attacking, just circling. They closed in, flying tight to her wings. So close she saw her reflection in their black glass canopies. Neither pilot waved. Her stomach sank. They weren't here to kill her. They were here to watch. The hog shuddered in crosswind. But she held, her grip steady, her mind clear. If this was the test, she would set the rules. The unmarked aircraft broke off, climbing vertical. In seconds, they vanished into cloud, leaving silence. Holt exhaled. Slow. Not relief. Recognition. Back at Stormglass. She filed her report. Words came measured, stripped bare. But one truth stayed buried inside. She hadn't just been flying a patrol. She had been the experiment. And Tempest 3 was the classroom. The chamber smelled of steel and recycled air. Fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, casting hard shadows. Holt sat at the table, gloves still streaked with dust. 6 figures faced her. No insignia, no uniforms, only blank expressions. The silence felt like a verdict waiting to be spoken. At last, the man in the center leaned forward. "You disobeyed orders," he said. His voice carried no anger, just calculation. "You entered a restricted zone. You triggered a self-destruct. You engaged unidentified aircraft." His hand tapped the folder in front of him. "And you survived." Holt didn't flinch. Her eyes stayed steady. "If survival is a crime, charge me." The woman to his right slid photographs across the table. Images of her hog, wings scarred, nose painted with faded shark teeth. Vitals printed along the margins, her heart rate, her stress spikes, her reaction times. "You've been studied, Major Holt," the woman said. "Not just by us. By them." She tapped one image where Holt's face was caught mid-flight. Holt's jaw tightened. "Then say it," she said. "Who are they?" The man ignored the question. Instead, he opened a new file. Diagrams of Tempest 3 filled the pages. "Why the A-10?" he asked. "Do you know why Stormglass keeps you in a machine that should have been retired before you were born?" His tone was measured, probing. Holt said nothing. She had asked herself the same question. Every sortie, every repair, every scar welded shut. The woman answered for him. "Because the A-10 cannot be copied." Her words dropped like iron. She spread the diagrams across the table. 22, F-35, F-16. AI can replicate them all. Their speed, their stealth, their maneuvers. Mathematics can explain it. But the hog, she continued, flies against mathematics. It was built to survive damage no software can predict. It was designed to be crude, brutal, and illogical. Her hand pressed the paper flat. "AI can't model illogical." Holt exhaled slowly. The truth landed heavier than she expected. They hadn't chosen her despite the A-10. They had chosen her because of it. The man's voice cut in. "Every time you fly into a canyon, every time you return alive, their algorithms capture you. They learn. They adapt. But they can't break you." He leaned closer. "And that frustrates them." Another figure finally spoke. "They want to kill the hog, because if they can beat the obsolete, they can beat everything else." His voice was gravel, tired. "You are the golden sample, Major." The phrase tasted bitter in her mouth. Golden sample, not a pilot, just data. "They're not trying to copy your success," the woman added. They're trying to train AI to anticipate your death, to script your last mistake before you make it." Her eyes didn't blink. Holt leaned back, her voice flat. "Then stop feeding them." The words cut the air sharp. The man didn't blink. "That's where you're wrong. We intend to feed them more, but poisoned." He closed the folder with a snap. A new map replaced the old photographs. 8 red marks glowed around a canyon. Coordinates stamped in bold black valley. "This is their proving ground," he said. 8 towers, 6 drones, all armed with your history. He pushed the map across. "They've learned every angle of your past flights, every stall, every hesitation. They think they know you." His mouth hardened into a line. "We want you to teach them wrong." Holt's hand traced the lines of the canyon. Black Valley was narrower than Gravecut, less room to breathe. "They want patterns," the woman explained. "You'll give them false ones. Make them believe the hog fears speed. Make them believe altitude crushes you. Make them believe you break under pressure." Her tone was clinical, detached. Holt raised her eyes. "And when they act on those lies, the council answered as one. They fail." The man leaned back. "Your hog is perfect for this. It was never logical to begin with. Let them choke on chaos. Let them eat data that leads them nowhere." He folded his hands. The words settled into Holt like cold iron. She wasn't a warrior anymore. She was bait, turned weapon. But she didn't argue. Because somewhere deep, she understood. If the AI learned the wrong lessons, the battlefield might still belong to flesh and bone. The woman's eyes narrowed. "One last question. Major, if offered, would you trade the hog for an F-35? The table fell silent. Holt's answer came without pause. "F-35 is a tool. A-10 is a weapon. You understand the difference?" Her tone was knife-sharp. No one replied. The silence meant they did. And Holt knew she had already chosen her path. The Black Valley looked like a scar carved into the desert. Sheer cliffs rose on both sides, jagged and uneven. 8 towers blinked red across the ridges. Eyes waiting. Tempest 3 rolled onto the strip, Sharkmouth gleaming under dawn light. Engines thundered low, guttural. The hog wasn't sleek, wasn't fast, but it was alive. Holt's gloved hand brushed the console. "You and me," she murmured. The cockpit rattled like it understood. Control tower gave no farewell, only coordinates. Stormglass didn't need words anymore. The hog clawed upward, heavy wings flexing. It wasn't smooth, it never was. But Holt trusted the weight. As the desert flattened beneath her, 6 blips lit on her scope. Drones, sleek silver, moving with machine precision. They didn't hunt yet. They waited. Black Valley's entrance swallowed light. Crosswinds slammed at odd angles, turbulence designed by nature. The A-10 dipped low, steady. Drones slid in behind her. Their movements were sharp, mathematical. Angles perfect, speed flawless. Holt smiled thinly. Perfection was predictable. She eased throttle back, dropping speed to 150 knots. The hog hugged the canyon floor, barely 50 feet above rock. Engines mounted high kept sand out. It was what the hog was built for. The drones hesitated. Their code resisted low flight, too much risk in thin air. They lost lock for seconds, Holt whispered. First lesson, she made it look clumsy, like survival by accident. The AI recorded A-10 struggles low. On the ridges, sensors pulsed. Every move she made was being logged. That was the point. The second wave came fast. Drones dove from above, shadow slicing the canyon. Their guns lit the air with perfect precision. Holt yanked the hog sideways, wings almost scraping stone. Not elegant, not clean, just brutal survival. Sparks hissed off the cliff edge, alarms shrieked. She cut them with one flick. Noise meant nothing here. She climbed slightly, then rolled wide, exposing her belly. The drones dove harder, confident. AI learned A-10 vulnerable from above. Holt let the image sink in. A machine that believed weakness was strength. Exactly what she wanted. The GIU-8 hummed under her seat. 7 barrels spun, a beast waiting to roar. She kept it silent for now. Fuel ticked lower, 53%. Hydraulics stiffened at the pedals. The Hog groaned but kept flying. Round 3 came sharper. 2 drones broke high, 2 closed tight, hurting her. The valley narrowed to 300 feet. She slowed again, nose wobbling slightly. Made it look unstable, desperate. The drones adjusted, certain she was failing. Holt pulled into a shallow climb. The Hog felt heavy, deliberate. She forced a stall for 3 seconds. AI logged A-10 cannot sustain climb. Drones pressed forward, overconfident. Their formation tightened. Holt slammed the stick, banking hard. The Hog flipped nearly on its side. Radius turn impossibly tight. Wingtips kissed canyon dust. She squeezed the trigger. Bird it! The Gow-8's roar shook the valley like thunder-breaking stone. 30 rounds tore through the nearest drone. It shattered mid-turn, fragments tumbling fire across rock. The rest scattered, algorithms confused. The Hog steadied, smoke curling from her barrels. Holt breathed once, steady. You don't calculate this. Above, towers tracked everything. Data streamed in real time. But the AI didn't know what to make of chaos. The drones regrouped. 4 remained, weaving tight patterns. They adjusted, learning again. 1 slashed from the left, another from the right. Holt dipped nose first, almost scraping rock. Dust exploded upward. Blinding sensors. Shots missed wide. The drones recalculated, looped back. But hesitation crept into their flight. Stormglass operators far away watched the feed. One whispered, "She's teaching them to fear mistakes." No one replied. Holt pulled the Hog into the narrowest throat yet, 200 feet across. Rock walls vibrating with engine noise. The drones stayed outside, refusing the squeeze. She laughed once, dry. Third lesson, fear the walls. AI logged A-10 avoids confined turns. But Holt banked hard again. The Hog swung in a half circle so tight it almost defied physics. A second drone strayed in and met the cannon. Another burst of brrrt. Another fireball slammed into canyon wall. The valley shook with falling stone. 3 drones left. Smarter, slower, no longer rushing. They circled above, calculating. One hovered, just watching. Its lights blinked in strange rhythm. For a moment, Holt thought it wasn't hunting, it was studying. Her comms crackled suddenly. Not Stormglass. A low male voice, distorted. You're not teaching them to fight the Hog. Major? Static hissed between words. You're teaching them to fear what they can't calculate. Holt's breath caught. The same voice from before the Watchers. They approve? The voice said. Then silence. Holt tightened her grip on the stick. The Hog rumbled beneath her, scarred but defiant. 3 drones still circled, confused but dangerous. The fight wasn't finished, but she knew the lesson was already written. Black Valley wasn't theirs anymore, it was hers. Tempest 3 limped out of the valley, smoke streaking behind her. Fuel gauge bled down to 20%. The Hog rattled like every bolt wanted to shake loose, but it held. Holt coaxed it over desert flats. Hydraulics screamed with every adjustment. The Hog refused to die, and so did she. Touchdown hit hard, front strut nearly buckling. Metal screeched across the strip. The Hog bounced once, then steadied, rolling to a halt. Engines wound down with a guttural cough. Holt killed the master switch by hand. Silence hit heavier than gunfire. Crew chiefs ran toward her. Some started to speak, then stopped. The look on her face warned them off. She climbed down the ladder herself. Boots hit the concrete, visor streaked with dust. The Hog loomed behind her like a scarred beast still breathing. 2 guards in plain uniform waited at the hangar's edge. No insignia, no names. Major Holt, Council wants you. She followed them into the low building. Corridors hummed with fluorescent light. Every door looked the same, bare, gray, unmarked. Inside the chamber, 5 figures sat across a long table, faces cold, expressions measured. The file in front of them was thick with data. One spoke flatly. Your flight pattern was erratic. Another added, You deviated from protocol in 3 sectors. Holt's voice stayed steady. The AI learned what I gave it. They learned hesitation. The council exchanged glances. You taught it to fear uncertainty. One said, "An AI that hesitates is an AI that fails." She leaned forward. That's exactly the point. Machines calculate. Humans survive. Silence hung sharp across the room. Then a gray-haired member asked, "Why still the Hog? We could give you an F-35 tomorrow." Holt's jaw tightened. F-35 is a tool. A-10 is a weapon. You understand the difference? None of them answered. But the silence was agreement. They knew she was right. The file closed with a soft thud. One counselor slid an envelope across the table. Black, unmarked, heavy with something inside. Holt tore it open. 4 photographs slid out, one by one. Each face stared up at her in grainy detail. The first, a pilot beside an F-22 helmet under his arm. The second, an Apache gunner caught mid-briefing. The third, an F-16 jock leaning against his jet. The fourth froze her hand. An A-10 tail number she knew by heart. Tempest 2, she whispered, almost to herself. That bird's gone. Pilot died 5 years ago. The counselor said nothing. Only, he flies again. And he's being watched. Her pulse kicked once, hard. If Tempest 2 still flew, then everything she believed about the last war was fractured. Stormglass wasn't telling her the full story. The photographs stayed on the table. Silent wait between them. They are next, a voice said. Will you save them? Holt didn't answer right away. Her gaze drifted past the council, past the gray walls. Out there. The sky waited. Later. On the tarmac. She walked back to Tempest 3. The Hog still smelled of cordite and scorched metal. Her hand traced the patched titanium skin. They think we're obsolete, she murmured. The Hog and me. But obsolete just means underestimated. The GAW-8's barrels gleamed faintly under the hangar light. A weapon older than the wars that shaped her. Still the most feared sound in any canyon. Holt climbed back into the cockpit. Straps tightened across her shoulders. Familiar weight. Engines rumbled alive. Low and guttural. She didn't wait for clearance. Stormglass didn't own her sky. Not anymore. The Hog clawed upward, heavy wings flexing against dawn light. Below, shadows stretched long across the desert floor. Ahead, horizon opened wide, endless and waiting. Holt carried no orders this time, only a vow whispered under her breath. This isn't war anymore, it's the hunt. And with that, Tempest 3 screamed into open sky. Stormglass wasn't in control. She was. If you enjoyed the story, consider sending a super chat to help bring more stories like this. Now, click on the video on the screen to hear another story that's just as powerful and captivating with courage, sacrifice, and a choice that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about duty and justice.